Delete everything. Leave no trace. The text message glowed on my phone screen at 2:47 a.m., sender unknown. 3 words that would shatter my world, though I didn't know it yet. I was too exhausted to question it, having spent the last 72 hours in the hospital's intensive care unit, watching my sister Lily fight for her life. I deleted the message and returned to my vigil. Lily's monitors beeped steadily in the dim light, her face pale against the sterile white pillows. The doctors had said the next 24 hours would be critical. Her appendix had ruptured while I was at work, and by the time I found her collapsed in her apartment, infection had already begun spreading through her system. Abby. Lily's voice was barely a whisper. You should go home, get some rest. I squeezed her hand gently. I'm not leaving you. Michael will be worried. Michael. My husband of 12 years. I reached for my phone again, noticing for the first time that he hadn't called or texted since yesterday morning. Strange, considering his wife had been camped out in the ICU for 3 days. I'll call him, I said, stepping into the hallway. The call went straight to voicemail. Again. Even stranger, Michael always kept his phone on, a habit from years of coaching high school athletics. A notification popped up on my screen, unusual account activity detected. Our joint savings account. I opened the banking app, my heart suddenly racing. The balance that should have shown $2.4 million, 12 years of careful saving and investment, now displayed zeros across the board. My hands began to shake as I checked our other accounts. All empty. Every single one. I dialed Michael's number again, my breath coming in short gasps. Voicemail. That's when I noticed the email. Subject line, hotel reservation confirmation, the Peninsula. I opened it without thinking. A luxury suite, booked for 2 nights. Tonight and tomorrow. Under Michael's name. The Peninsula. Our honeymoon hotel. Where we'd promised to spend every anniversary. Our anniversary wasn't for 6 months. I called Amanda, the private investigator I'd hired last month when I first suspected something was wrong. She answered on the first ring, despite the early hour. He's there, she said without preamble. Room 2142. He's not alone. The world tilted sideways. I gripped the wall for support. I'm sending you the surveillance photos now, Amanda continued. And Abigail? You need to get to your safety deposit box. Immediately. I can't leave Lily. Trust me. Go now, before the banks open. I glanced back at Lily's room, torn between my dying sister and the urgent warning in Amanda's voice. I'll send a nurse to sit with her, Amanda said, reading my silence. But you need to move. He's been systematically emptying accounts for weeks. The safety deposit box will be next. My grandmother's jewelry. The family heirlooms I'd promised to pass down to Lily's daughter someday. All stored in that box, along with documents I couldn't afford to lose. I'll be there in 20 minutes, Amanda said. Meet me at the bank. The next hour passed in a blur. The nighttime security guard at the bank, recognizing me as a longtime customer, led us into the vault. My hands trembled as I inserted the key. The box was empty. How? I whispered. He's not on the account. He couldn't. Amanda's face was grim. Forged documents. He's been planning this for months. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number, check the storage unit. Unit 47A. Don't bother coming home. Home. Our 2-bedroom penthouse in the city's most exclusive district. Where we'd built our life together. Where just last week we talked about starting a family. I have to see him, I said. Amanda caught my arm. No. That's exactly what he wants. You, emotional and confrontational, making a scene at a luxury hotel. He'll use it against you later. He's stolen everything. Not everything. Not yet. Amanda's eyes were steel. You're an art teacher, Abigail. You understand perspective. Step back. See the bigger picture. My phone buzzed again. The hospital. Mrs. Harrison? Your sister's fever has spiked. The doctors need you here now. I closed my eyes, forcing down the panic threatening to overwhelm me. Send me the hotel surveillance photos, I told Amanda. I need to see everything. Back at the hospital, I sat beside Lily's bed, watching her fight for breath as antibiotics dripped steadily into her veins. On my phone, I scrolled through Amanda's photos. Michael entering the hotel. Michael at the bar. Michael kissing a young woman, beautiful, probably mid-20s. Both of them laughing. The same laugh I'd heard so many times during our marriage. The laugh that had once made me feel like the luckiest woman alive, now revealed as something else entirely. A predator's laugh. More texts arrived throughout the night. Storage unit keys under the mat. Bank accounts closed. Divorce papers being filed. As dawn broke, the doctor entered with good news. Lily's fever had broken. The antibiotics were working. She would live. I held my sister's hand as she slept, her breathing finally steady. On the small table beside her bed, I spread out the evidence of my imploding marriage, bank statements, hotel photos, texts from unknown numbers. Oh God, Abby. Lily's voice was weak but clear. She'd woken to find me organizing my documents. What has he done? Everything, I said quietly. And nothing. She frowned, struggling to focus. What do you mean? I showed her the final photo Amanda had sent. Michael and his young companion, exiting the hotel elevator this morning. Both carrying designer luggage. Both wearing triumphant smiles. He thinks he's taken everything, I said, my voice steady. But he's wrong. Abby. He left me the most dangerous thing of all. I met my sister's concerned gaze. Time to plan. Lily studied my face. What are you going to do? I gathered the documents carefully, tucking them into my briefcase. The same briefcase I'd carried into classrooms for 12 years, teaching students about art and beauty and truth. I'm going to teach him a lesson, I said softly. About the difference between winning a battle and losing a war. Lily's monitors beeped steadily in the morning quiet. Outside, the city was waking up. Somewhere in a luxury hotel, my husband was celebrating his perfect escape. His flawless victory. He had no idea what was coming. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd saved weeks ago, when I first noticed the missing money but chose to wait and watch. My finger hovered over the name, Morrison, the school district's chief auditor and former FBI financial crimes investigator. A man Michael had always feared, though he'd never admit it. For 3 decades, Morrison had been the educational system's most dedicated watchdog, taking down corrupt administrators across the state. Michael had spent years carefully avoiding Morrison's scrutiny of the athletic department's finances. Morrison? This is Abigail. Yes, Michael's wife. About the athletic department funds. I paused, letting my words sink in. No, it can't wait. Because right now, my husband is spending your missing millions on his mistress at the peninsula. Shall I tell you which room? The first domino was about to fall. Michael had taught me well over our 12 years together. About patience. About planning. About the importance of timing. Now it was time for the student to surpass the teacher. I looked at Lily, peaceful in her healing sleep. I promised Dad I'd always protect you, I whispered. I never thought I'd have to learn to protect myself. But I had learned. And Michael was about to discover exactly how well. The storage unit key felt cold in my palm. Unit 47A stood before me, its metal door reflecting the harsh fluorescent lights of the facility. Amanda had insisted on coming with me, her car parked strategically near the emergency exit. Remember, she warned, this could be a trap. He might be waiting. I turned the key. The door rolled up with a grinding sound that echoed through the empty corridor. Inside, instead of the furniture and belongings I expected, I found a single white envelope. On top, a note in Michael's familiar handwriting, 12 years reduced to this. Poetic, isn't it? The envelope contained my teaching certificates, some old photos, and a broken silver locket, the first gift he'd ever given me. Everything else, our life together, was gone. Abigail. Amanda's voice was urgent. Security camera just picked up movement at the entrance. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Heavy. Deliberate. Multiple sets. Hide, I whispered, pushing her behind the adjacent unit. Film everything. Michael appeared in the doorway, his athletic frame silhouetted against the hallway lights. Two men flanked him, one I recognized as Blake, his new assistant coach, the other unfamiliar but equally intimidating. Consider this a courtesy visit, Michael said, his voice eerily calm. A friendly warning to stop digging. I met his gaze steadily. Where are my mother's paintings? Already overseas. Along with everything else of value. He smiled, that predatory grin I'd seen in Amanda's surveillance photos. You should be grateful. Their value has appreciated significantly on paper. Money laundering, Michael? That's a new low, even for you. His smile faltered for just a moment. Behind him, the unfamiliar man shifted uncomfortably. Careful, Abby, Michael's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You're throwing around serious accusations. People who do that sometimes have accidents. Behind the storage unit, I heard Amanda's sharp intake of breath. Every threat was being recorded. Is that what this is? I asked, gesturing to the empty unit. A message about accidents? This? He laughed coldly. This is just the beginning. You have no idea what's coming. Ask your sister about her patient records. About last year's incident. It would be a shame if the medical board received an anonymous tip. My blood ran cold. He knew about Lily's mistake, the accidental medication error that had been covered up. The one that could cost her her nursing license. You're threatening my sister now? I'm reminding you what's at stake. He stepped closer, his cologne, once familiar, now sickening, filling my nostrils. Walk away, Abby. Take the divorce settlement. Start over somewhere else. Because if you push this. His hand gripped my arm, hard enough to bruise. Things will get very ugly, very fast. The unfamiliar man behind him, clearly a hired enforcer, cracked his knuckles for emphasis. I looked down at Michael's hand on my arm, then back to his face. You know what your mistake is, Michael? He raised an eyebrow, amused. Enlighten me. You still think I'm the same woman who married you 12 years ago? The one who would do anything to keep the peace. To avoid conflict. I smiled, watching confusion flicker across his face. That woman died the night you emptied our accounts. Before he could respond, police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. That's odd, I said softly. I wonder who could have called them. Michael's grip loosened as realization dawned. His head snapped toward the sound of approaching footsteps, not from the entrance where his muscle waited, but from the emergency exit behind him. You engineered this, he hissed, backing away. You little. Language, Mr. Harrison. Amanda emerged from her hiding spot, phone recording. The police will be here any second. Shall we discuss those threats you just made? The money laundering confession? Or should we wait for the detectives? Blake and the enforcer were already running. Michael's face contorted with rage, but even he wasn't stupid enough to stay. He backed away, pointing at me. This isn't over. No, I agreed calmly. It's just beginning. After they fled, Amanda turned to me. We got it all. The threats, the laundering admission, everything. But he's right, this is far from over. He's got powerful friends. Then we go after those friends systematically, I said, pulling out my phone. Starting with the ones who can't afford to be exposed. I dialed Morrison's number. The school district's watchdog had been waiting for this call. Morrison? Abigail again. About that athletic department audit you began last year. The one that was suddenly cancelled. I wondered when you'd connect the dots. His voice was grim but satisfied. Your husband's financial patterns have been interesting. I have evidence showing why that audit was stopped. And who paid to stop it? A pause. My office. 7 a.m. tomorrow. Use the back entrance. And Mrs. Harrison? Watch your back. Your husband's network is deeper than you know. That evening, in my small temporary apartment, I spread out everything we'd gathered. Bank records showing irregular transfers to Caribbean accounts. Surveillance photos of Michael meeting with known gambling figures. A pattern of corruption that went far beyond simple theft. My God, Lily whispered, examining the evidence. She'd been released from the hospital that morning, still weak but insistent on helping. How long has this been going on? At least 2 years, I said, pointing to a series of transactions. But that's not the worst part. Look at these names, students from the athletic program. He's been using them as couriers. For what? Money. Drugs. Whatever needed moving. I pulled out a USB drive. And according to this data Amanda found, some of these kids were underage when it started. Lily's face paled. That's why you're not going to the police yet. One crooked cop, one tip-off, and evidence starts disappearing. People start getting scared. We need something bigger. Something that can't be buried. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. The attached photo made my heart stop. It showed Michael at the Peninsula's bar, drinking with none other than Judge Franklin, the judge assigned to our divorce case. Well, Lily said, looking over my shoulder. I guess we know why he's so confident about the settlement hearing. I stood up, walking to the window. The city sparkled below, beautiful and corrupt. Somewhere out there, my husband thought he was orchestrating my downfall. He had no idea he was walking into a trap 12 years in the making. Abby. Lily's voice was concerned. What are you thinking? I turned back to her, my decision made. Call Amanda. Tell her to set up the meeting with the FBI's white-collar division. It's time to show them exactly what kind of operation Michael's been running. He'll know it was you. Of course he will. I smiled, a cold expression that would have shocked the woman I was a month ago. That's the point. As Lily made the call, I looked at the photo of Michael and Judge Franklin again. My husband had taught me many things during our marriage. About power. About corruption. About how the system really worked. Now it was time to teach him something in return. About karma. About justice. About revenge served cold, precise, and absolutely final. The Peninsula Hotel's grand ballroom was Michael's stage tonight, and he was playing his role perfectly. Athletic director, community leader, charitable fundraiser, every lie polished to a shine. Jessica, radiant in a blood-red designer dress, played her part just as well, the adoring younger woman, innocently in love. Ready? Lily whispered beside me. I touched the flash drive in my clutch, the key to destroying their entire operation. Morrison's team in position? All exits covered. They won't escape this time. The auction was Michael and Jessica's masterpiece, a sophisticated money laundering operation disguised as a charity fundraiser. The items up for bid looked legitimate: sports memorabilia, vacation packages, rare photographs. But each piece held secrets, just like the fake art galleries Jessica used to clean their dirty money. I watched them work the crowd, noting their subtle signals to certain bidders. Each nod, each seemingly casual gesture was part of their code. They thought they were untouchable. They were wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael took the stage, champagne glass raised. Tonight's final item is truly special. I stood, my black dress a shadow among the glittering crowd. Yes, let's talk about what's special about those photographs, Michael. The room went silent. Michael's smile flickered but held. Abigail. I wasn't expecting. Obviously. I walked toward the stage. You were too busy selling fake certificates of authenticity. Or was that Jessica's department? The art expert with 3 different identities in 3 different states. Jessica's perfectly painted face cracked. Her hand flew to her throat, where my grandmother's stolen necklace glittered. Security, Michael called out smoothly. My ex-wife is having another episode. Actually, Morrison's voice cut through the room as FBI agents appeared at every exit. She's having a breakthrough. In a federal investigation. What happened next was pure chaos. Michael vaulted off the stage, shoving aside shocked donors. Jessica kicked off her heels, sprinting for the kitchen exit. Both of them running like the professionals they were. But we were ready. Jessica made it 3 steps into the kitchen before face-planting spectacularly, brought down by a perfectly timed foot from one of the undercover waitresses. The sound of her nose breaking was oddly satisfying. Michael got further, almost reaching the service elevator before 3 agents tackled him. He fought dirty, all his polished charm replaced by animal fury. It took 5 of them to pin him down. I walked into the kitchen slowly, savoring every second. Jessica was being hauled up, blood ruining her expensive dress. Michael was face down on the floor, still struggling. The photographs were clever, I said conversationally. Hollowed-out frames for cash transfers. But the art galleries? That was brilliant. A perfect laundering system. You can't prove anything, Jessica spat blood. I pulled out my phone, playing a video. On the screen, Jessica was coaching a young athlete through a rehearsed story, how to explain his sudden wealth if anyone asked questions. Your new gallery assistant was very thorough with her recordings, I smiled. Morrison's team especially enjoyed the part where you bragged about running similar schemes in California and Oregon. Michael went still. You told someone about Oregon? Jessica's eyes widened in panic. Michael, I didn't. You stupid bitch. He thrashed against the agents. Do you know who's involved in Oregon? Speaking of Oregon, Morrison entered, holding up a file. Your private jet was scheduled to fly there tonight. With some very interesting cargo manifests. No, Michael whispered. All his arrogance drained away. You don't understand. Those people, they'll kill us. Only if they find you, I said sweetly. But you'll both be in federal custody. Safe and sound. Unless, of course, one of you wants to tell us more about these dangerous associates. They broke simultaneously. She orchestrated everything. Michael shouted. The galleries, the athletes, the blackmail. He's lying. Jessica shrieked. He forced me. He has other girls, other galleries. I stepped between them. Remember that night at the hospital? When you emptied our accounts while my sister was dying. You told the bank I'd authorized everything. That I was mentally unstable, not fit to manage my own money. Michael's face twisted. You were nothing. A small-town art teacher. I made you. No, I cut him off. You broke me. And then I rebuilt myself into something much more dangerous, a woman who knows all your secrets. Mrs. Harrison? An agent approached. You need to see the presidential suite. Upstairs, the suite had been turned into an evidence jackpot. Everything they'd stolen, meticulously catalogued. My mother's paintings. Family jewelry. Financial records. And something else, a laptop containing detailed files on every person they'd ever scammed. They kept trophies, Morrison said quietly. Records of every victim. Every scheme. Of course they did, I picked up my grandmother's locket from a jewelry display. Narcissists always need proof of their cleverness. My phone buzzed with updates. The FBI had raided 3 of Jessica's galleries simultaneously. The school board was discovering the full extent of the athletic department fraud. And most satisfyingly, Michael and Jessica were still trying to betray each other, each hoping to cut a better deal. I watched through the hotel's security feed as they were led to separate cars, still hurling accusations. You promised me everything. Jessica was screaming. Like you promised to destroy those Oregon records? Michael shot back. Fascinating, Morrison observed. They're so busy burning each other, they're confessing to crimes we didn't even know about. Back in the ballroom, the wealthy donors were giving statements, many discovering they'd been victims of the scheme. The photographs had been dismantled, revealing elaborate hidden compartments. Years of fraud exposed in a single night. Agent Roberts wants your statement, Lily touched my arm. In a minute. I was watching Michael's face on the security screen as agents read him his rights. The exact moment he realized everything was gone. His power. His reputation. His freedom. His mask finally cracked completely. He began to sob, ugly and uncontrolled. Jessica, being placed in a different car, saw him break. She started laughing hysterically. The great Michael, crying like a baby. Both of them imploding, Lily said softly. It's almost sad. No, I corrected. It's justice. Later that night, in my small apartment, I hung my mother's recovered painting, the one Michael had claimed was worthless when we first married. Its colors seemed brighter now, freed from their possession. What happens next? Lily asked. Now. I fastened my grandmother's locket around my neck. Now we help Morrison's team find their other victims. This wasn't their first scheme, and they're not the only ones running it. They'll want your help identifying the patterns. Good. I smiled, touching the locket. Because I've learned exactly how predators like them operate. And more importantly, how to destroy them. My phone buzzed one last time, Amanda confirming that Michael and Jessica had been processed into separate federal facilities. No bail. No deals. No escape. I didn't need to read the details. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just taking everything from your enemies. It's making them destroy each other in the process. And as I fell asleep that night, surrounded by recovered treasures and new purpose, I smiled thinking of Michael and Jessica in their separate cells, finally understanding what they'd lost. Not just their freedom or their stolen fortune. But the one thing they tried hardest to break. Me. Mrs. Harrison? You have a visitor. I looked up from my desk at the FBI field office, where I'd been helping Morrison's team track similar fraud cases. 3 weeks had passed since the Peninsula Hotel takedown. Michael and Jessica were awaiting trial, their empire of lies crumbling piece by piece. Send them in, I said, expecting another victim coming forward with evidence. Instead, a tall man in an expensive suit entered. His smile was cold, professional. Mrs. Harrison. I represent certain, interested parties from Oregon. My blood froze. Michael's mysterious associates, the ones that had made him panic during his arrest. I'm afraid I don't understand, I said carefully. He placed a USB drive on my desk. This contains footage from your sister's hospital room. The night you discovered your husband's betrayal. Very interesting conversations about planning revenge. About destroying Michael systematically. Some might call it premeditated entrapment. My hand tightened on my pen. The hospital room. Of course. The one place I thought I was safe to speak freely. There's more, he continued smoothly. Financial records showing you knew about the fraud months before reporting it. Evidence suggesting you deliberately allowed criminal activities to continue, building your case. Very questionable behavior for someone claiming to be a victim. What do you want? Your testimony against Michael and Jessica is crucial to the federal case. All you have to do is experience some memory problems during the trial. Get confused about certain details. In return, this evidence disappears. And if I refuse? His smile widened. Then not only will you face charges for your own involvement, but your sister's medical license. Well, let's just say that medication error wasn't her only mistake. I stood slowly. How long do I have to decide? 24 hours. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mrs. Harrison? Don't bother running to Morrison. We have friends in the bureau too. After he left, I sat motionless, mind racing. Then I pulled out my phone and sent a single text, code red. 30 minutes later, I walked into a secluded coffee shop 3 blocks away. Lily was already waiting, along with Morrison and Amanda. Tell me you were recording, Morrison said without preamble. I placed my pen on the table, the one I'd been holding during the conversation. Full audio. But that's not enough, is it? No, Amanda confirmed. If they've really infiltrated the FBI, we need something bigger. They made one mistake, I said quietly. They assumed I didn't know they were watching me in that hospital room. Morrison leaned forward. Explain. The night Michael emptied our accounts, I found a hidden camera in Lily's room. Industry grade, professionally installed. That's when I knew he wasn't working alone. You never mentioned this, Lily said. Because I needed them to think they had leverage over me. Every conversation in that room, every plan I discussed, it was for their benefit. A performance, Amanda realized. Exactly. But while they were watching me, Amanda's team was watching them. Following their surveillance team, tracking their movements. Leading them exactly where I wanted them to go. Morrison's eyes narrowed. The Oregon connection. You knew about it before the arrest. Michael's not smart enough to run an operation this big. He needed powerful backers. When I found that camera, I started digging. Found similar patterns at other schools, other athletic departments. All connected to a company in Oregon. Atlas Educational Consulting, Morrison nodded. We've been trying to build a case against them for years. And now they've walked right into a federal building to attempt witness tampering, I smiled. With full audio recording. It's not enough, Amanda warned. They'll claim entrapment. Unless, I pulled out my phone, their own security footage shows them planning exactly this move. The others stared at me. Two can play the surveillance game, I explained. The night of the Peninsula takedown, while everyone was focused on Michael and Jessica, another team was raiding Atlas's offices. Amazing what you can find in their security archives. Morrison let out a low whistle. You've been 3 steps ahead this whole time. Had to be. Men like Michael, organizations like Atlas, they only understand one thing, complete destruction. When does it end? Lily asked softly. Tonight. I checked my watch. In about 2 hours, federal agents will be arresting Atlas's entire board of directors. Simultaneously, in 3 states. The evidence is already being processed, decades of fraud, corruption, and intimidation. They'll still try to come after you, Amanda pointed out. Let them. Every move they make just adds to their charges. Besides, I smiled, I'm done hiding. That evening, I sat in Morrison's office, watching live feeds of the arrests. Atlas's executives led away in handcuffs. Their offices raided, their files seized. A criminal empire collapsing in real time. My phone buzzed, a message from the prison where Michael was being held. He was demanding to speak with me. Going to visit? Morrison asked. No. I stood, gathering my things. I have a dinner reservation. A date. Lily appeared in the doorway, grinning. Maybe. I thought of the handsome prosecutor I'd met last week, James. His intelligence, his integrity, the way he'd ask me to dinner without a hint of agenda. Life's too short to waste on revenge. Speaking of waste, Morrison held up a report. Michael tried to hang himself when he heard about the Atlas arrests. Failed, of course. Of course, I said. He fails at everything in the end. 1 month later, I stood in a courtroom again. But this time, I wasn't there for revenge. I was there to help James prosecute another case, lending my expertise in identifying financial fraud patterns. Michael and Jessica had both pleaded guilty, turning on their Atlas associates in desperate bids for lighter sentences. They would still serve decades. The photos of them in prison orange, their designer clothes and arrogance stripped away, barely registered with me now. Ready to go? James asked, touching my arm gently. I smiled, feeling the weight of my grandmother's locket against my skin. Not a trophy anymore, but a reminder. Of strength. Of survival. Of the power of truth. Yes, I said. I'm ready. We stepped out into the sunlight together, leaving the shadows of the past behind. Ahead lay a future I could never have imagined in that dark hospital room, plotting my revenge. A future built not on destroying others, but on protecting truth. On helping others find justice. On love freely given and received. A future that was, finally and completely, my own.